To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not just their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art. Welcome to the Chiss Ascendancy podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome back to
The Chiss Ascendancy.
You are listening to episode 114. We are in part 4 of our Dark Force Rising comic book read-through, so we are just past the halfway point of the illustrious Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire trilogy.
Wow.
And we're gonna... Go ahead.
I was just snitching.
Oh, yeah. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We're halfway through. We've done a very, particular way of basically reading the comic to your lazy ass this first half of the...
Goodness.
No, I'm kidding. We've been kind of going to play-by-play style, and... We're going to switch it up a little bit and just give our thoughts on this particular issue, see how that feels, and go from there. So this is more like what we used to do with our Mandalorian review episodes.
Boy. Yippee.
You remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Yippee! Yippee! Those are good times. We were recording 2 episodes a week at that time.
Yeah.
You know?
Regular and Mando review.
Yeah. Bonus, Mando review, episode 1. That's when, we had the hilarious, what are those? The Quarren, the balls on neck guy?
Yeah.
That's a classic from the Mando review style stuff.
Chin balls.
Chin balls?
Yeah, had balls on his chin. That's
No. I'm talking about the Quarren, the squid guys. Their balls are on the back of their neck.
Oh, okay. Wrong side of the neck, guys. My mistake.
If you can't beat
so
them,
hard to keep
join
track
them.
of where all the testicles are,
On this episode of the Chiss Ascendancy, we're going to play a game called Where Are Their Balls?
Hard to keep track,
We're 1 minute and 45 seconds in, and we are on...
We're
we
on
got off the
track.
rails to balls. I can't even think. Okay, so we're in issue 4 of Dark Force Rising. What do you think about it?
It's long. First takeaway. Good Lord.
Yeah, there was a lot happening.
There's a lot going on. I would say one of the more fast paced. We talked last week. Wow, was it only last week? Feels like an age ago. Last week's episode, we talked about how well that episode was paced. I feel like there was no restraint really for this particular episode. There was a lot. It was wing bang boom.
This is the Rise of Skywalker version of Dark Force Rising.
It was. There was a lot to be said, a lot to be done. No, it was really good though. There was a lot of important stuff that I had forgotten about. I wish I were a fish.
Classic.
That is a banger. I had that movie, for those of you who don't know, that's Mr. Limpet, starring Don Knotts. It's one of the very first feature films with animation and live action film. Don Knotts turns into a fish to help the World War II effort against the Nazis, and has some superpowers that he uses to defeat submarines.
When's the last time you watched that movie?
It's been years, but it's deeply imprinted. Anyway,
I wonder if it's streaming anywhere.
I have that on DVD, and I had it in my dorm room at college, and I had a friend who repeatedly asked to borrow it. He's like, hey, can I borrow Mr. Limpet this weekend? And I was like, yeah, man, whatever you want to do.
Hang on, did he ask to watch it several times and you gave it to him finally?
No.
Or
He asked
did he
me,
ask
it's
and
like-
watch it several times?
He wanted to borrow that like I wanted to borrow the Early Signs of Autism. I checked out the Alligators and Crocodiles book from our school library maybe 17 times. It was just a catalog really in the library. Or if you're old, you remember there was the library card and it showed whoever checked it out at the front page.
Yeah, the little stamp.
Yeah, it was just me. It was me
That's
over
awesome.
and over again. He repeatedly asked to borrow Mr. Limpet, which brought me great joy. Anyway,
I wonder if it's on YouTube.
I own it on DVD. You can borrow it.
Yeah, I know, but then I had to hook up a DVD player and all that.
You have the Xbox?
Yeah, somewhere.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, can't help the helpless. So I wish that we could have spent. This is what I meant to say 3 minutes ago. I wish that we could spend more time on things that I thought were really cool in the novel. It's just the nature of the novel or graphic novelization of the proper novelization that you kind of miss out on some of the cool details. One of those cool details being Niles Ferrier has the Wraith as his sidekick. We've kind of talked about him, but he wasn't premiered really at all visually or what he can do. And we get some cool kind of like very like 3 panels talking about like what he can do and how he's so sneaky.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was maybe if you're listening on an audiobook, maybe like a 4 or 5 minute kind of dissertation on the Wraith and what he was doing and how Han maybe saw a shape moving. And that's something that we didn't necessarily get. And there's little moments like that, like where Mara Jade is interacting with the backdoor password to kind of find out where Luke might be at if he's with Sabaoth.
Right.
Stuff like that there's maybe some digging or some level of interest that in the novel I would, turn that up or make sure my thoughts don't wander if I'm listening to. I'm just freaking driving all the time now, so I'm in audiobook mode.
Right.
But I would really dial in, and we kind of miss some of that, which I think is, you're just reading a heavily abridged version of the story, really. But
right. Yeah, it's a very abridged version, and there's one panel in this towards the end of this issue where you get Mara asleep and you get the "You will kill Luke Skywalker."
Yeah, and that's
I remember in the
repeated
book
over
like
and
a
over and
zillion
over.
times.
Yeah.
You will
Such
kill.
power to command.
Have you been thinking about that now?
Harry Potter. It really doesn't. It's like twice towards the end of the book and
To command.
like 7 times at the very front of the book. The whole middle section of the book, it's not mentioned at all.
I know. I
but-
keep thinking about it.
I'm just thinking about it.
Are you going to finish that book tonight?
Probably so, yeah. It takes me forever to fall asleep.
Power to command.
You know what else I'm going to be thinking about tonight? Is this guy. Oh, it's so...
This reminds me of back in the day when you had a crappy picture file and you try to make it your background on your computer. You have to make it to a tile.
Just kind of zoom in, if you will, with us.
See if you can zoom in there.
Hold on, I'm going to have to...
Can you?
Give me a second and I can do something.
If you're listening via audio, which most folks do.
This is my favorite panel.
Samuel's,
Just do yourself a favor. I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger. Talk about what you want to in the middle. I don't care.
Samuel's favorite panel in the whole comic
Here we go.
is
getting
this
so
derpy,
pixelated.
this derpy looking Isalmiri.
It's so good, dude. I wish I could make this like my profile picture on Xbox.
Yeah.
But it's such a terrible resolution version. Anyway, I really want it. You've been spared by Josiah having already made the title slide intro. But I was voting for
You're
this.
fighting for this. You know what you could do is
What does this remind you of?
This reminds me of like This Is Fine. You know what I mean? Because on this panel, what's happening is that Mara Jade is going there to ask Luke for his help.
Yeah.
And
she's got this Islamari on the survival backpack so that she
Yeah.
can kind of interfere with whatever Sabaoth is doing to Luke, get him to
Right.
listen.
Right.
Obviously protect herself from the pseudo Sith Lord.
You know, Master Sabaoth is more powerful than most characters.
Yeah, he's pretty OP. I was thinking, as I read more of Master of Evil, how kind of weak in general the Star Wars characters are, I feel like, under Disney and the novelizations. Like, you have Vader kind of, like, interact with this Dark Spectre, but you don't see him kind of do something freaking crazy, like pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a lot of Forced Unleashed type content, but Sabaoth, he's not that guy. He's going to do what he wants. Anyway, really enjoying This is going to be plastered on the back of my eyelids as I fall asleep tonight.
What this-
I'll wake up smiling thinking about this.
Yeah, what this Islamiri looks like is
He looks like a sock puppet.
he's
He's got like the same.
he looks like
the same dimensions and like curved mouth of a sock puppet.
Any second now, he's gonna get frustrated, and the head's gonna turn, and the hands inside is gonna do this number.
Yeah,
you know, like sock puppets, their mouth gets like all pissy.
I'm just like thinking about she's got the Islamari, and up until this point, it's kind of thwarted Force powers. Like Thrawn uses it, and Sabaoth can't use Force lightning against him because the Force is kind of canceled out.
Yeah,
Sabaoth
when they're on
kind
the
of
run
has
in Merker, they can't use the Force.
Sabaoth kind of has a backup plan, which is he's just going to throw rocks at people with the Force, which is hilarious. But I just imagine the Islamari being like slow pan, like looking over at the camera. You know, like, am I a joke to you?
Yeah. Yeah, this is like if Tim Robinson wrote Dark Force Rising. This is his main favorite character.
Yeah. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled.
Yeah, the way that he's looking around is like the fart episode of I Think You Should Leave. Like, I just farted. And like Tim touches his head. So basically what we're working with is in the beginning of
Is that the joke?
Is that the joke that I
cancel out the Force, but they can still throw Force rocks at me anyway?
Is that the joke? That I poop my pants? That I had a big mud pie? Make me think I'm mighty sick.
Mighty sick.
So starting out, first things first, Garm Bel Iblis is like the coolest guy I've ever seen in my entire life. He's got the handlebar mustache with the flowing white hair.
He's like if freaking Hulk Hogan was cast in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's the coolest character ever.
Somehow has a baby with Macho Man. And then also like maybe Bill Clinton.
Yeah, this is like if Garm Bel Iblis walked into the Senate, Palpatine would be like,
if you've ever
is that?
laid awake at night and you're like, I wonder what it would be like if Hulk Hogan and Bill Clinton had a baby.
It's Garm Bel Iblis.
It's Garm Bel Iblis.
So basically, you've got Lando and Han trying to convince
maybe a little
Garm
bit of Dark Master in there
to Dark Master. That's a good one. Touch my heart, change my mind. Oh man, that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut, dude. If one person, I'll write you a handwritten letter if you get that reference.
Yeah.
Drop a
problem
comment.
is there's only so many people listening. You know what I mean?
I'm saying I'll write them all. Share this with all your friends who get that Dark Master reference.
Dude, Mara Jade is getting thrown around every which way in this issue. Like Thrawn's like, you have no power here.
Yeah, she's definitely on the B-roll list as far as influential characters. It's really funny because I feel like this is the Mara Jade hour. We get probably the most Mara Jade content that we have.
Yeah, she's probably like the leading role in this issue, I would say.
For the first time, for the most part, she's been kind of in the whims of Talon Card, or she's like just pissed at Luke, and so she's, chasing him around.
Yeah.
But now she's like taking some initiative, making plans of her own, not working with the instruction of Talon Card, manipulating the Empire for her own benefit, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
However, she is getting verbally thrashed about by Thrawn on a number of levels.
Yeah, there's a moment where she's... So you've got the whole thing where they're trying to get Garm Bel Iblis back into the New Republic because he has a couple of ships that they need. And then we change scenes, and Thrawn is basically saying that he is... we're kind of in attack mode, but we're seeing how the board is going to land before we make our next move, Mm-hmm. And so basically the name of the game for the New Republic and the Empire, or the Imperial Remnant at this point, is to try to bolster their fleets.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. And obviously Dark Force Rising is a reference to the Katana fleet, and everybody wants the Katana fleet.
Yeah, and
things are moving too quickly to make new stuff. You kind of
have the Heir the Empire realization. There's only one point so far where anybody's referred to the Katana fleet as the Dark Force, and that was Thrawn and an interaction with him and Pelion. Or maybe it was Pelion. One of the two of them in a conversation referred to the Katana fleet as the Dark Force, and you're like, he said it.
I thought that Card had said it at some point, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's all...
Continue.
Everybody's talking about the Katana fleet.
I'll refer to the source material.
And basically trying to get their hands on it. And essentially, at this point, Thrawn has a spy. He's still trying to figure out what's going on. And then as Mara Jade is basically trying to make herself available to Thrawn. And tell me your thoughts on this. Do you think, okay, part of the way through this issue, right, when she leaves, she talks to Wedge, right?
It's Thrawn and Mara Jade while they're talking, going back and forth, and Thrawn refers to it as the Dark Fleet, or the Dark Force.
Yes.
The Dark Force for lifting the death mark against Card.
Yeah. He's the one that mentions it in this issue.
Interesting. Very interesting. My thoughts on Wedge?
Well, what I was going to say was when she leaves Wedge, right? So she talks to Wedge on Abrigado Ray.
Yeah.
And then after that, she leaves and gets... it's interesting because the way that she makes it seem is like she always wanted to talk to Thrawn, but she has this thought bubble that says, I'm getting that sinking feeling I've been set up going to full acceleration now, and then there's a Star Destroyer in the way, right? And so at this point in time, do you think that Mara, she's on her own side, but she still has an attachment to the Imperial Remnant because that's who she worked for so long because of the Emperor, who's a father figure to her? She cares about Card and what happens to him and his people. She hates Luke. She obviously doesn't care for the New Republic.
Yeah.
So do you think that her allegiance at the beginning of this issue is still first to herself and Card, and then secondarily to the Empire?
So it's kind of like spaghetti. You know, it's not like waffles. You know what I mean? It's not so compartmentalized. Everything's kind of touching. Because you have that, it's kind of an opportunistic deflection. You know, obviously I'm caught. How can I make this work to my benefit?
Right.
And then she's interacting with Thrawn. You know, this is how this is going to go. I'll give you the Dark Force for, you know, Card and 3 million credits to spend. And I think, just as an aside, I think she's just shooting too high so that she can get what she actually wants, which is to free Card from the death mark. But you kind of see that her first instinct is to protect Card, and she seizes an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I did think to myself, or wonder to myself privately, and I wanted to ask you about it, so it's fun that you brought this up. Did her plan shift gradually when she...
Heard about the other hands.
Yeah, heard about basically her unexceptional nature
Relationship
in the Empire structure.
Yeah. To those of you who are listening because you're our friend, but you haven't been keeping up with the comic, the most pivotal moment
Not
in
you,
this
Chance.
issue...
I know you're catching up.
Yeah, right.
We talked yesterday.
But yeah, the probably the most pivotal moment, there's several of them actually, but bringing Garba Imlis back into the New Republic on what is the freaking home planet of the Noghri?
Honoghr.
Honoghr. On Honoghr, you have Leia saying, look, we can't wait in the shadows for forever, and the matriarch says, okay, we'll join you. It's an honorable thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Because she's like, there's not much honor in you being willing to die for us. And she's like, I'm not doing it for honor, I'm doing it because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
So the Noghri basically being willing to...
I did think it was interesting the matriarch said, we will not long remember. She's like, not important.
Yeah, she was like, this is kind of a silly sacrifice you're going to make. And I think the point is, she was like, hey, I know her point was, it's not going to make that big of a difference if you just get killed doing it. And if it doesn't make a difference... Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're going to die and our life's not going to change and our land's still going to be poisoned...
Yeah.
It's not going to make a difference. And then really Leia stepping up and being like, look, I know it may not be impactful enough to make a difference, but I've got to do it because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
That really struck an emotional chord with the matriarch, and so then things start to change that way. I think, obviously, the Katana fleet being the Dark Force, that is like this massive fleet that's going to change the tide of the war, depending on whose hand it falls into. Talon Card is the one that stumbled upon it, and therefore Mara
and we thought, that was exclusive rights, but it seems like
Garm has a few
else
of them. Yeah.
Maybe stumbled upon the treasure trove.
Yeah. Garm has 6,
The
I want to say.
Twizzle. Yeah, he has 6 dreadnoughts to command. And you have to assume he has kept tabs on where the rest of them are. You know, like, do you think maybe he could only... I remember, it's a little bit of spoiler, whatever. At some point, they go to try to get more of them, and there's some sort of difficulty in, like, which ones are functional enough to get out of there. Mm-hmm. But you have to think that, you know, he just got as many as he could.
Yeah. I can't recall exactly.
It's a capital ship, you know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to get out of there one person flying it. You have to have pretty substantial manpower to pull out 6.
Yeah, I can't recall what ends up happening. I remember I just remember when I was listening to the novel several years ago. I remember the slave drive being able to move multiple ships. That was a very, very important factor when I was listening to audiobooks the original time I was going through these books.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. But I say all that to say, the most pivotal thing in this almost the whole story up until this point, all happens to be wrapped around Mara Jade, Thrawn. You know, the way that Zahn writes Thrawn in these books is so much different than the Thrawn trilogy and the new stuff.
It seems almost like he wanted to fix some things that he maybe considered character flaws with Thrawn.
From previous years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because he seems to...
He's almost too Imperial.
He's
and
too
I think
Imperial.
He wanted to differentiate him.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my impression from the changes
I think
that were made.
also, like, there's just sometimes that Thrawn overplays his hand and just kind of... So, what I'm referencing for those listening, whenever Thrawn says, you'll not dictate how the deal's going to go to me even in private.
Yeah.
Basically, like, hey, look, even if you treat me like a Grand Admiral in public... You know, just because we were in because Mara was in the room whenever he was given his secret Grand Admiral's charge. Yeah. Because in the Legends material, it was like the Emperor had a fondness for Thrawn and recognized his greatness, and he made him a Grand Admiral, but he still was kind of xenophobic.
He wanted to keep him. Yeah, it's only real people, i.e. the humans.
He's the only non-human Grand Admiral, but he still kind of sent him out in the middle of nowhere after he was given his charge.
Yeah, that was kind of the unofficial Imperial stance, which I guess is a statement of the greater pervasive nature of whatever you want to call the commentary on it in the real world. But it was only humans are really important was kind of the nature of the Empire, which it's just one more unlikable thing, I guess, that was written into it. And but Thrawn, useful as he is, was kind of given a secret amount of influence, which ended up honestly being his saving grace. So it kind of like worked to his benefit. I did think one thing was interesting, and it's kind of a juxtaposition of the Thrawn that we have now as opposed to the Thrawn that we get then, which is I feel like Thrawn now would say, I now command the Imperial Remnant, as opposed to what Thrawn then says, which is, I now rule the Empire.
Yes.
He considered it, under him as opposed to like his hand just nudging it in the direction that he thought was most beneficial.
Yeah, Thrawn now seems to have a greater bit of humility, and he's still doing what he thinks is the right thing versus in Legends, and as you read him, and even just his, as crazy as this sounds, I know this is kind of, really detailed, but just his facial structure and the way his eyebrows move and things like that, he's much more angry and much more frustratable in the at least in the comic version of the books. Yeah. And like, for instance, like Thrawn is not emotional whatsoever. And so when he does something, he does the nudging. He doesn't. And so whenever he says, you'll not command this conversation even in private, just because you're the Emperor's hand doesn't make you special. Do you think you're the only one that could hear his voice?
Yeah.
Just because you could hear his voice the clearest doesn't make you important, basically. And to me, that's like he's saying it to stab at her confidence and her emotions, but at the same time, he's overplaying his hand because he needs Mara still for right now. And so, in a weird way, that's just one of those subtle things, like this ongoing thing where he's just like taking a dump on the freaking Noghri every time he gets a chance.
Yeah.
It's these subtle things along the way. Yes, he's the most brilliant strategic mind. Yes, he's the best war master. Yes, he's by far and away the wisest when it comes to war in this trilogy. However, he's so overconfident in his skills that he lacks the knowledge of like the street smarts, if it will. And so when he throws that dagger at Mara, it really rocks her world. And we see almost like a 180 where she's like, hey, look, I don't care what happens to Luke. I don't care what happens to the New Republic as long as Card is taken care of. I'll even consider coming back to the Imperial Remnant and helping work with you.
Yeah.
And after that conversation, it's like, okay, she does what it takes to save their skins because Thrawn goes back on his word.
Yeah.
As soon as she finds Card, he's tracked her and he's traced her and basically is like, it seems like willing to torture Card until he gets the
Katana fleet.
I don't think that canon Thrawn would be so negligent with his words.
Yeah, I think modern Thrawn has more of a sense of honor.
Yes.
And he thinks of, and I mean, I'm not Tim Zahn, but I believe he thinks of the Empire as a means to an end.
It's 100%,
which is
the preservation of the Chiss Ascendancy.
Right. As opposed to right now, the Empire's his end. You know what I mean? I think just kind of the richness of his backstory really shapes the difference in the decision making.
Well, because in Legends, he was cast out.
Yeah.
So the Empire was his people. And so that's why he calls it the Rebellion and not the New Republic. That's why he says, I now rule the Empire.
Right.
Like, that's his home. Whereas in canon, he's willing to be bashed and dragged through the street and given the shame treatment from Game of Thrones, all as a ruse to secretly go on this mission to the Empire. And make no bones about it, had Thrawn's dealings and feelings towards the Grisks, which this is kind of a deep cut for surface level fans, obviously, because the Thrawn trilogy, the Ascendancy trilogy especially, is like trudging. Yeah. Because there's so much, it's so dense.
It is a thick read.
Yeah.
I think it's the longest canon novel.
Maybe,
the third of the Ascendancy trilogy. I think it's the longest canon. At least it was at the time, the longest canon Star Wars novel to be written.
Which is funny because when you look at the Hand of Thrawn duology, Spectre of the Past, Vision of the Future, also by Timothy Zahn, those are some of those, when you got them in paperback, you could do this number and it'll be like, la, 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 la. Like, it's thick enough that it like has its own movement, but, pause. But essentially, you really started to catch on there. I think that, had his dealings with the Grisks and his feeling of the inevitability of the Grisks taken place, let's say 15 years later, in Chiss space,
double vision,
he would have joined the New Republic. Yeah, because they were the obvious choice. That's what has the most structure or whatever. And you still had Mon Mothma screwing the pooch by disintegrating the,
foolish girl.
We love you, Mon. You were fantastic in Andor, especially season 2, but you disbanded the New Republic's military, which is like so asinine.
Stupid.
But yeah, double vision is very, very
double
cool.
Vision was one of the coolest things I think we've ever gotten from a canon novel involving Vader.
Double vision. For those listening at home that haven't read the canon Thrawn trilogy, we're talking about in Thrawn Alliances, where double vision is
great book.
Basically, double vision is when Vader falls into the Force during a fight and everything's in slow-mo,
the only account that I can recall where we have a clear perception of what is being perceived in the Force versus what's being seen by everyone else. And so whenever Vader is going to go into a moment where he's deflecting blaster bolts or going to anticipate what's happening via the Force, he'll go into what they consider double vision, which is interpreting things live with his eyes, but he's also perceiving the world around him through the Force. Very cool concept. It's very well done. As opposed to this current novel, which is just a big old bologna sandwich of nothing in the entire middle. I really like the opening. I really like where it's going at the close of it. Master of Evil is what I'm referring to. The middle is a trudge. Trudge.
Yeah, I'm
a sloth, if you will.
I'm most of the way through now, and
it picked right back up around chapter 35, which is
once
morally devastating when you consider that it really took a steep swan dive around chapter 2.
Well, you're
That's my personal preference. I signed up to hear things about Vader, and I get a lot of things about a weenie dying.
Hallen Goff.
Yeah.
I like his
Imperial
droid.
Guard. Yeah, that's the
TC-99.
how great is that? The best thing about him is his droid companion.
What does TC-99 remind you of? Okay, I guess my question is, when you're listening or reading the book and TC-99 is doing things, how do you picture him in your brain? I know that he's supposed to be a certain type of droid, but like the way that he talks and interacts with Hallen reminds me of Proxy from The Force Unleashed.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
You know?
That's an apt
Proxy is like
comparison.
one of the coolest droids ever.
Very cool. Howland, not cool. Not cool. He's so loyal to the Empire, but in like the most beta cuck sort of way. Like, no, don't hurt the civilians. If I'm thinking like the colonel in charge of the
The Royal
Guard, like the creme de la Edgar of Imperial officers, like you're the pinnacle. You're actually talking to the Emperor.
Yeah.
And he's just such a weenie.
You know what's funny is the Imperials back in the day, like in the comics from Legends, they would go train, right?
Yeah.
And they would encourage friendships and things like that. Like just little nudges like, hey, you two go work on this task together, right? And then like inevitably you're going to get to know that person or whatever. And then at the end of the training, they almost had like different colored garments, like almost like the freaking Power Rangers, you know? Go Royal Guards. But the last thing you would do is you would fight. The Emperor would come watch, like, this is your graduation. And there would be this raised, like, metal platform. It almost looks like the Imperial signal. And then where the negative space is, that you're falling into a pit.
The way I think of it is like the in Legend of Korra, they have the Pro Benders arena.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
But shaped like the Imperials.
Yeah, it's like a flat, the Emperor's watching you and you're on this raised flat platform with a pit underneath. And so long story short, I say all that to say, they would then, they're kind of nudging you to be best friends with this person or whatever. And then your final test, if you're going to join the Royal Guards, is there's a fight to the death between you and your best friend.
Pretty freaking metal.
Right?
As opposed to Mr. My tummy hurts. Dr. Vader, could you please heal my tummy ache, please, sir?
It reminds me of those memes where it's like, I'm a pit bull and I can eat, concrete. And then it's like, I'm a purebred German Shepherd and faucet water gives my tummy an ache.
Right. I'm like, dude, the least cool possible interpretation of a Royal Guard, and he's the main character. We have his
what's funny
POV
is
for like
in Lords
80%
of the Sith
of
by
the book.
Paul S. Kemp. It's by Paul S. Kemp, I think. Yeah, Lords of the Sith.
That sounds right to me.
You kind of see some Royal Guards, and they're like bad to the bone.
Yeah, they should be.
Super cool. Yeah, a Royal Guard.
They should be freaking cool. They should be completely aware of... Yeah, that's Paul S. Kemp. They should be... In my mind, a lot of them, to certain degrees, are Force sensitive. Maybe that's just Legends material. But I was always under the impression that a large degree of them are Force sensitive. They're fully aware of who the Emperor is. They're fully aware of what Vader's capable of. So I don't know. It's just weird to me to have this format where now we have completely out of the loop, kind of a weenie, was somewhat there for the cleanup after Order 66. Halfway in, halfway out, had a hate for the Force and the Jedi, but then still felt weird about like
the Shadow Guard in Legends had they had black armor.
Yeah.
They were Force sensitive. And
they had, kind of half in, half out as far as like the measures taken, but then like wanting to overcome the boundaries of death for the sake of it's just a lot of like compromise and self-contradiction to me.
Yeah.
Like he's so committed to the Empire, he wants to continue living, but then when it comes like chips are down and some person he met a week ago is going to be killed for the greater good of the Empire, all of a sudden I'm going to get in between this girl and Lord Vader. You know what I mean? It's freaking... Sorry for the spoiler. I forgot you're not there yet. it pisses me off, and so
I get it. I mean, here's okay. I'll tell you some predictions I have off air because just in case people are listening or reading the book right now. But
sorry, guys,
there are some
I got carried away with my distaste for the book.
There's
if you're reading the book just offhandedly and you happen to see the chapter title for chapter 14, that's basically the book. That's the book. The chapter title for chapter 14 is Vader Said Nothing. That's the title of chapter 14. And it's a microcosm of, I would say, 80% of the book. When I signed on for Master of Evil, I was under the impression I would get something from the Master of Evil.
Well, here's the other thing.
How naive I was.
It falls... there's been several fantastic canon novels. However, it falls into that weird category of we have something similar to this in Legends. That was way cooler. So here's the problem. The problem is the book is called Master of Evil. The cover is like a
crazy. It's like Darth Vader or something. The Master of Evil.
It's the mask of Vader.
Is what it is.
It's a mask of Vader, and it looks like it's distorted and it's rotting, and it's just kind of like it's eerie, right? And then what I kept hearing when people were making, like Mark Thompson, who we obviously love, was like, "Hey, this is a great book. It's very scary, yada yada yada." And I'm thinking, oh hell yeah, sign me up for that, because I'm thinking of like Red Harvest or things of that nature. Red
Harvest or Death Troopers, the original.
Mm-hmm. Or there is the Dark Lord trilogy, which is a fantastic collection of 3 novels where you have Labyrinth of Evil, which has a cool cover from back in the day with has Grievous and Anakin on the cover, and then Revenge of the Sith is the middle book, the novelization Revenge of the Sith, excuse me. And then the third book is Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader.
Great book.
Have you read that one?
I've read that one.
Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader. It's literally Vader.
I think that's the only of the trilogy I've read, but I read it when it first came out.
The Rise of Darth Vader?
Mm-hmm. Because I hadn't gotten into many Star Wars books, but I was very interested by the prospect of like Vader origin story.
Yeah. And at the time, all they had was the abridged audiobook. Now they have a unabridged version, which came out just recently. But it's like there's a band of Jedi, and it's Vader's first assignment to go kill Jedi, and you're with Vader all the time.
Yeah,
and you're following him. So I say all that to say, it's not it's not to the Acolyte levels of disappointing, but the feeling is. It's the same feeling where you saw the cover, you saw the name, you saw the premise, and we're like, oh, hell yeah, Darth Plagueis. And then all you see is...
cool, Trinity from The Matrix.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Kelnaka, awesome.
Oh, wow, she's dead. I'm 30 seconds into the first episode.
Yeah. This girl's really pissed. Oh.
Episode 2, angry still.
Yes. And also, the Acolyte was supposed to give us the thing I kept reading or hearing was that it was going to be from the Darksider's point of view.
Yeah.
So give me Plagueis, or if you want to go really deep cut, give me Venomous, or give me, one of those guys.
Yeah.
And teach me, Master.
Yeah.
The folly of the Jedi.
The thing I guess I really hate is I expected a lot of first-person perspective from Vader and, God willing, Palpatine. Never comes for Palpatine, by the way. Any kind of interaction we have with Vader by himself is still from a narrator's point of view. It's never how Vader perceives anything. Mm-hmm. So if you notice, there's a tense shift as well in the writing format where it's a present tense description, but then, or I guess it's, so-and-so, it's past tense, most of the book. And then when it's Vader, it's from a narrator's point of view where he's like, and it's present tense. So he's like, and he steps into the water and there's sand everywhere and it's bright, or never mind, it's dark. It's not perceived from Vader's perspective. It's just a narration of what's happening if you're watching a movie. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was disappointed for a large... There's some redeeming qualities towards the end. I've greatly enjoyed maybe the last 15 chapters.
You know what stinks too is that, and I don't know how this works. I don't know if I know, for instance, with the Acolyte, Leslie Headland went to Disney and was like, hey, I have this idea. And then they say, okay, go for it. But we'll greenlight Leslie Headland's show and give her $1 billion. And the acting is absolute ass, except for the guy in the Wookiee suit and the main bad guy and Master Soul, and everybody else is cheeks the whole show. And then
Master Soul was a cool choice.
Master Soul was fantastic. But then we have the lesbian Sith cult that can create life through the Force, which to me is like, that's a one of one.
Yeah.
There's
my main thing was that it just discredited, and I don't know why I'm so upset, because it's not anything that was actually canonized, but in my mind, it was like almost accidental on Plagueis's attempt to discover how to manipulate life, that he somehow influenced the Force to create life spontaneously, and that's how we got Anakin.
Yeah, the Plagueis novel is
I feel like it really
this freaking sick description of like
undermines all of that, you know?
Yes. My problem is we can't get the Hunt for Ben Solo, but we'll greenlight the Acolyte. I just don't understand that concept. Anyways, I say all that to say, Adam Christopher also wrote Shadow of the Sith, which I very much enjoyed. It's a adventure with Luke and Lando, and it's just really, really fun read. I don't remember a ton of the details because I just remember like listening to the audiobook and doing several other like projects and stuff while I'm listening to it. So I could definitely go back and reread it, but I remember really enjoying it. And I think Adam Christopher does a great job with his writing. Like I think he's a great writer.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
But I think, and here's my question. My question, you don't have the answer, but I would like to know, does the writer go to Star Wars books, head of whatever, and say, hey, here's a cool idea, and they say yes? Or do they have a premise and then they go pick a writer based on who they think will do a good job?
You have to assume that they're giving assignments, not taking assignments, is the general sense that I get.
Like, I think the most that I've gotten
or else we would have more Joe Schreiber novels by now.
Oh, like where he's like, I'm doing this now.
Yep.
I think the most that I've seen into the insight of a Star Wars writer is watching the High Republic develop and listening to them being like, hey, what scares the Jedi? And that's how they came up with the Nameless and things like that. Mm-hmm. And obviously they work together because there's a team of like freaking 8 or 10 or 12 writers writing together, doing this giant triangle where like...
If you're getting into the High Republic, by the way, skip the kid novels. Just blast right past them. Save yourself, first of all.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in there.
Nah.
I would say, hey...
Wizard.
Into the Dark is considered like a young adult novel.
I didn't say young adult. I said kids.
Okay.
Skip that right now. Consider that your Christmas Carol in July. Just freaking get yourself out of there. If you're around somebody that's listening to Christmas Carols in July, you got some priorities to sort out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is one of those priorities. Sort it out. But I don't remember how we got on this rabbit trail.
No,
we're discussing part 4 of Dark Force Rising.
Yeah.
The graphic novelization.
The 6 people that are listening to this are enjoying it. Okay, yeah, back to Dark Force Rising.
The subtitle of this is going to be Dark Force Rising Part 4.
The whole point of what I was trying to... We started talking about Thrawn and canon legends. That's why we got back and forth. But...
and also some thoughts on books.
Yeah. Thrawn overplays his hand with Mara by trying to insult her and like put her back in her place. Mm-hmm. And I think it almost shifts her allegiance.
It definitely is. And, you and I have read the books, so we know how the end comes about. But it's definitely very, very, very heavily hinted at. This is going to be Thrawn's undoing. Mm-hmm. Thrawn, assuming that he has his hand on everything and assuming that he's completely aware of everything that's going on, is definitely going to be what undermines his actual control. Yes.
It's interesting because the way that Thrawn is handled by the end of Last Command is reminiscent of Leia saying, the tighter you squeeze your finger, the tighter you close your fist, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. Mm-hmm. So it's like...
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
He's like trying to tighten his grip on everything, and like
I don't even know if it's like a conscious, like, I'm going to batten down the hatches. I think it's just he assumes
these things over here are
everything's-
taken care of.
Yeah.
So I'm going to really focus over here, and these things aren't taken care of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like whenever you, let's say that you put your phone down and you're like, okay, I put my phone on the table and I got to work on these other things. I'm going to remember where my phone is. And then you don't make a mental note of it. And then you finish the other task and you're like, where the hell did I put that phone?
Yeah.
You guys see my glasses?
Where are my keys?
Yeah. But dude, that's so funny that Hal reminds us of Dad so much. And then I thought about earlier when you said he's having his yearly brush with death.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
That
we haven't heard
annual
him yakking
near-death
it up.
experience. I don't know. I don't know what's going on down there.
But it's interesting because Luke is on Joe Mark with Sabaeth, and he's trying to learn from him, and you can tell that Luke obviously is still young in his journey with the Force. And
What's weird is, by this point, you have to assume he's survived a lethal encounter with the Emperor. He's converted Darth Vader back to Christianity. He's got some good things under his
he's
belt.
got some stuff under his belt.
And now
he
he's
learned
kind
from
of,
Yoda and Obi-Wan, who are two of the greatest Jedi of all time.
of all time. And now he's kind of like in this weird sphere where it's like, if you ever find yourself like this at a work environment, by the way, quit right away. You have a certain amount of confidence and you get into this new sphere and it's all undermined. You're starting to question yourself.
Yeah.
And you see him say repeatedly, I don't understand. I'm really trying to grasp what you're telling me, but it goes against everything that I've learned to date.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's interesting because
get yourself out of there right away.
he wants to learn from Sabaeth because obviously Sabaeth is immensely powerful. Like
Incredibly
again,
powerful.
we said it earlier, but
Powerful,
Sabaeth,
influential. He has a great amount of confidence that
Yeah.
he knows what the answer is.
and you know what's interesting is you see this kind of with the Empire as well. Sabaeth does bring order to these towns that he goes to.
Yeah, he does bring
He sorts it out.
a type of order.
It's a type of order.
It's
Yeah.
certainly a type.
It's he's in charge. That's the order. It's
It reminds
no
me of
democracy.
it reminds me of our childhood home.
Oh yeah, because I said so.
No good reason, because I want it that
Because Luke, you know, he's basically saying, "Hey, we're too involved in these people's lives."
Yeah, Luke's like, maybe we just defer to the council a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't read their thoughts without consent.
Yeah, Luke says, "Hey, look, you owe him this for the fruit, and I'll let the council decide how much that's worth, and then
Yeah.
I'll come see the damage to the fence tomorrow before I give a deliberation on, you know,
Yeah.
a decisive decision on what we should do
And
there."
Sabaoth was
And so
like,
it's
you dumb idiot, you stupid boy.
Yeah,
No, idiot boy.
he's saying like, why would you ever defer to the council?
Yeah.
They're primitive at best.
Yeah, stupid locals. Can't you read their text box? It's not even in basic.
It's just beat that. You know what's interesting is that Sabaeth, he sees himself as superior to the other people clearly, and obviously the Jedi or the Sith are superior to your average person because they do have command of the Force in that sense, superior in that role. Not like they're better human beings or more important or whatever, but they are superior in certain ways.
They're definitely going to have a greater influence on what's going on.
The same way that
No doubt.
like any random UFC fighter is superior in the sense that they could kill somebody with their bare hands.
If John Jones came and gave me a direct order,
We're doing it.
I'm not going to question that.
Yeah, so-
what can I do about it?
Yeah,
really?
so he is superior in that sense.
Yeah.
But he also is paranoid. It's a very, very
Yeah.
terrible combination to have so much power and to be aware of it and to see yourself as superior to someone else, but you also have no confidence and you're paranoid against everyone around you.
It's definitely a hearkening to where R2's like, you think he's a Sith? And Luke's like, I think he's just freaking bonkers,
He's
dude.
just nuts.
Yeah.
And so,
Classic Luke be like, I can help him, though.
yeah, and Luke says that again. He
Yeah.
said, I pulled Vader back from the brink. You know, Vader was very far gone. You know what's crazy is because we have such a small sample size of Vader at this point in human outside of Star Wars Earth history
Yeah, like maybe
timeline,
40 minutes screen time at the absolute most.
Sabaeth seems more evil than Vader to me. Like, obviously,
Definitely
we know...
more vindictive, where Vader's kind of like, I don't know, Daddy Palpatine, what are we doing?
Yeah, Vader is more... he's obsessed with finding Luke, finding the Millennium Falcon, things like that for
He
2.5
seems a lot
movies.
less autonomous. Like he's not.
But yeah, he's just doing the bidding of the Emperor.
Yeah.
The Emperor is evil. You know that. And he looks the part. You know, Vader is behind the mask, and then when he takes the mask off, he's like Mr. Potato Head. You know, so he's like, this guy's more like on purpose. Here's what we're doing because I said so.
Yeah.
And so Mara comes to Joe Mark, and her, again, Thrawn's whole, you know what, who cares about Luke Skywalker? He's not that valuable to me. We're doing things on my terms. And you're not that important. And you know, you were one of 6 girlfriends the Emperor had. That changes the way that she sees Luke in a sense. It seems like she's still having those nightmares that she's going to kill Luke Skywalker. But when she gets to Joe Mark, she legitimately comes and asks him for his help. And she brings a Islamiri to stop, you know, any kind of powers that... She brings Gary here to stop Sabaoth from stopping Luke leaving.
Yeah.
You know? And then I guess wrapping things up, you know...
You also see a little bit of Sabaoth's vindictiveness in the fact that you see it like thought bubbles of Luke being like, I'm so exhausted. And Sabaoth's like, you're tired. Go take a nap. And then Mara Jade gets like in atmosphere and she's like, I'm kind of tired. What's going on? And it's just like until Luke and Mara Jade are both within the influential sphere of the Islamari, when they're outside of Sabaoth's influence.
Yeah.
That they get a clear head.
Why do you think he did that? I don't recall.
In the novel, I believe he kind of tries to make Luke tired so that Luke will go and he can deal with Mara Jade on his own.
Oh.
And then I think he tries to subdue the will of Mara Jade before she puts on the Islamari pack.
Interesting.
But Luke kind of comes out of the influence and he's like, oh, is this how you try to plan the new Jedi Order with deceit? And
Right. Oh, yeah. That is, he does say that. And it's interesting, because he like casts Luke out. Like, nobody needs your help. I'm a Jedi Master. I don't need anyone's help.
Yeah.
And so I think Luke is like, geez, dude, what is this guy's problem? And then the way that he treats Mara, and basically he's going there to kill her essentially because he can sense her intent.
And boy, is he throwing rocks at that ship.
Mm-hmm. He is,
dude. He just the juvenile action of like, well, I can throw rocks at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because by the end of this, Luke has only been on Joe Mark for so long, and he's like, oh wow, there's a Jedi Master out there, I can continue my training, because obviously Luke's been very like sad and depressed about what's next for him as a Jedi and the Jedi in general,
and confused. You know, he's never been without guidance to really any extent up until this point.
I think by the end of this issue, he realizes, okay, and Mara's going to tell him Sabaoth works for Thrawn, whether Sabaoth wants to admit it or not. They're not equals. He's underneath Thrawn at this point. He uses the dark side. He infiltrates people's mind, which is not something that a light side user would do.
Right.
And so, interestingly enough, Thrawn's little throwaway comment to put Mara in her place costs him Luke being distracted on Joe Mark, costs him Mara's possible re-allegiance to the Imperial Remnant.
Yeah.
Costs him, what will end up being the Katana fleet. It's just really interesting because if Luke is stuck on Joe Mark, he's distracted, he's off the chessboard. There's nobody that can really come in and just, hey, give us Talon Card back. So it's like his little comment has this avalanche effect that will end up turning the tide of the war. Yeah. Thanks to Mara Jade's change of allegiance. So it's very, very interesting.
For sure.
Wrapping things up here, give us your thoughts on R2's. This is what was the titular frame here. R2 just blasts.
Yeah, there's the whole kind of distract him and run away with Sabaoth dealing with Luke and Mara Jade. And Luke, I guess, signals to R2 to use his X-Wing as a, devastating force when it comes to Sabaoth. And he just absolutely wrecks him from behind with an X-Wing laser, which...
Pause.
What?
He wrecks him from behind.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he gets him the old
if
Sean
you
Combs.
look at the freeze frame, he gets wrecked from behind.
Yeah, it's interesting that where most of us would like throw sand in the guy's face or something like that, R2
Check this out.
Shoots a
bada
freaking
bing, bada boom.
R2
Is that X-wing not behind him, and is he not getting wrecked?
He is getting fooshed. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I do really enjoy that Luke's like, he didn't shoot to kill, and I'm like, how do you shoot a human being not to kill with the power of an X-wing?
Yeah. Even if you put the X-wing on stun, you're still throwing a freaking tank at him.
I didn't stomp that spider to kill with my steel toe work boots.
Exactly.
You know, like you're definitely bringing something to bear here.
But wrapping things up, so really no new characters if this was a Mando episode where we go, oh,
except
this is a new
for if
character.
we want to talk about how maybe perhaps we could consider the Wraith a new character.
Well, they talked about the Wraith several episodes ago with...
Yeah, but...
Yeah. The Wraith does...
We don't see him. He doesn't talk.
There's 2 trackers on the Lady Luck, and one he makes fairly obvious, and the Wraith puts a secondary tracker that I think is like, hey, if we put one tracker and they find it...
Yeah, there's one on the hull
where they
obviously the ship's going to detect it. I think one's like frickin' under a bench or something.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then...
That was a storyline we didn't even talk about. Yeah. But if you're here, you freaking read the book. Yeah. I don't know.
As far as what's moving forward, we've just seen several things switch in this episode.
Yeah.
Or this issue where the Noghri are getting ready to, openly rebel against the Empire.
Just about. They're teeter-tottering. Leia's really working
Leia's going to go and break Cabrak out.
Political influence.
Well, because...
I do like that we see that aspect of Leia where Luke is more like, I'm going to get hands-on. Leia's like, how can I manipulate the situation with words?
Yeah. The Anakin versus the Obi-Wan effect. You have, interestingly enough, you have Thrawn wants to use Cabrak's public humiliation and public torture
as a
to
statement.
Keep the Noghri in line.
Yeah.
And Leia wants to use his rescue to turn the tide of their loyalties back to Lady Vader.
It's interesting how pivotal the state of this Cabrak, who is just like freaking third son of the matriarch.
Random.
Not super important in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, David before...
Yeah.
He was King David.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about the little shepherd boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very influential in the galaxy.
And
really.
yet, his life becomes so important.
And then we find out also, back towards the part where we're on the Noghri homeworld, that at this point, it would take 8 years to unpoison the ground.
Allegedly.
And that's
allegedly
with what we have at our disposal.
And Leia's all like, I'm pretty sure they're doing something, but I can't prove it.
Yeah,
yet.
I can't prove that they're. And obviously, we know.
I'm pretty sure though.
Yeah, they're doing something to keep them in servitude.
I really enjoy the onomatopoeias for Chewie's noises. Gruff, grog.
Yeah. So Noghri are basically getting ready to switch sides.
Noghri's teeter-tottering. Mara Jade's teeter-tottering. Sabayoth is doing whatever the heck he wants to do.
Yeah. And Luke now is aware of Sabayoth standing as a dark Jedi.
And it almost seems like he's coming away with a greater confidence to the detriment of the Empire's goals, because he's like, okay, maybe I had more of a grasp of what a Jedi Master is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, if this guy is a Jedi Master... And in my gut, in my soul, or whatever you want to call it, he feels
icky,
like wrong with
feels
what
real
Sabayoth's doing.
Icky,
really yucky, icky,
gross.
It's gross. Anyways. To your point, yeah, it's like he goes into Joe Mark not sure what a Jedi Master is. And then by deductive reasoning, okay, well, it's not this. So maybe I do have what it takes.
Yeah.
Because this guy's more powerful than me at this place and time. But the way that he's doing things, I would not do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's not A, it's B. You know what I mean? So if I can do things the opposite of what Sabayoth's doing them, then and that's the right thing, then maybe I have the knowledge that I need.
Maybe I can do what it takes.
It's like
maybe I can teach Leia and my niece and nephew.
Yeah. It's the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, where the rich man asked for Lazarus to be raised from the dead to go warn the rich man's brother and brothers and father. And Abraham tells him they have the law.
Yeah.
They have Moses and the prophets. And I think that it's like,
And Abraham says, "No spank you."
no spank you.
No thanks.
Even if I could send it back, it wouldn't
Sure
make
looks
a
hot over
difference.
there.
Yeah, it wouldn't make a difference. Is
Yeah.
his point. And so I think that's what Luke is coming to of. Okay, if this guy says he has the answers and he's the opposite of what I should be, this feels the opposite of what I felt when I was with Yoda.
Right.
Yoda talks to you, and it like his teaching and his wisdom makes you feel closer to the Force. And Yoda, and the way that he talked in Empire especially, and his calm demeanor in the face of living on Dagobah, in the face of 20 years removed from the huge failure of the Jedi, you get this sense of how close he is to the Force. Like, he's not one with the Force in the sense that, you know, he's dead or anything, but him and the Force are on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, and there's that beautiful monologue in Empire where he's like, the Force is my ally, and a powerful ally it is.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of I'm reading as I'm listening to Master of Evil. I'm reading Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor, which is supposed to be a really fun Legends book that, like, it's going to make me even more mad about Luke in The Last Jedi because it's freaking... I'm like 3 chapters in and Luke is like perfect. But Yoda...
As he ought to be.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is...
The new chosen one. The new Adam.
This is just... This, in the Legends continuity, this would have probably been before... Let me see. Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor. Time period. Let's see. It takes 5 years after the Battle of Yavin. Okay, so this is. Let's see. Following the Galactic Civil War. So this would have been before.
This would be before Jedi.
Jedi, or close. Maybe just after. This is after Return of the Jedi, I think.
Okay.
But I still have to say, he feels kind of similar to what we're dealing with here, where he's seeking guidance and doesn't really have a lot of it anymore. And Luke says, Yoda used to tell him often, if far you feel from the Force, know this, that it was not the Force that moved. And
Not a breach.
that kind of stuff is the opposite of how Sabaoth, you know, if far from the Force you feel, bring it to your, to your will. You know who Sabaoth reminds me of? Have you seen that skit? And I'll freaking shut up after this. Have you seen this skit when Adam Driver is on SNL and he's Pete Davidson's grandpa, and he's like, crush your enemies into the ground? That's Joris Sabaoth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lots of things changing here, and we've got 2 more in Dark Force Rising before we get into The Last Command.
Yep.
And we'll
stay
go from
tuned.
there. So thank you so much for listening. We're about just over an hour in, so if you're still here, are you still there? Thank you for tuning in. Remember to follow us on Instagram and also TikTok for updated. A lot more stuff on Instagram nowadays because I'm doing info dumps and things like that. But videos every once in a while. Once the new year hits, I'm gonna try to do at least a short video. I'm trying to do like 3 or 4 of them a week. So
Nice.
I don't know if I can do them daily, like back in the day, just because my schedule's a little bit more demanding now. But I'm gonna try to do much more often, and just I'm pre-writing things right now to have things lined up. So that's the
Wonderful.
goal. But follow us there. Remember. Every week we tell you this. I don't know why you keep forgetting. You have to remember, the Force will be with you always.
It's like, it's so weird that you would say that, because I feel like every week they also forget that it's slightly more important, so it's a little more embarrassing that they keep forgetting. The only family you have here is me.
Such power to God. We'll see you next
Take it
week.
easy.